If your money is sleeping, you're working overtime for nothing. And the truth is, most people aren't broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because their money doesn't work as hard as they do. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your paycheck, then looked at your bank account, and wondered where it all went? Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, you're just running on a treadmill going nowhere? Here's the truth. If you don't master money, money will master you. And by the end of this, your mindset around money will never be the same. Money, by its nature, is obedient. It does what you tell it to do. But most people don't give it orders. They give it away. Thoughtlessly, emotionally, instinctively. And when you don't give money a purpose, someone else will. Let me put it this way. Every dollar in your pocket is like a little worker. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't take breaks. It doesn't call in sick. It's loyal. It's quiet. But it's either working for you or for someone else. And the tragedy? Most people send their dollars out like it's a party. No armor. No mission. Just blind spending. Entertainment. Impulse. Comfort. Their money is an army. It's a mob. And mobs don't build empires. Soldiers do. There's a difference between surviving and building, between spending and assigning. Every time you get paid, you have a choice. Either become a commander or stay a consumer. I met a man once who made 6 figures a year, but lived paycheck to paycheck. Big house, nice car, latest phone, no savings, no investments, just status. His money looked rich, but it was lazy, undisciplined, untrained. Then I met a school teacher. She made less than half. But every month, she gave a portion of her paycheck a job, investments, retirement, a small rental property. Fast forward 10 years. She was free. He was still hustling. See the difference? One let money enslave his lifestyle. The other trained it to serve her future. Now here's what's happening psychologically. When people get paid, the emotional brain kicks in. Dopamine, desires, that little voice that says, you deserve it. And you do. But what you deserve more is a future where money works harder than you do. You see, when your money has no orders, it defaults to comfort. And comfort is the killer of wealth. But when you make money a soldier, everything changes. A soldier has discipline, a mission, a purpose. It multiplies your power even when you're asleep. You buy an asset, it pays you back. You invest in yourself, your value increases. You build a system. It runs without you. Now your money isn't just surviving, it's serving. The problem is, most people want financial freedom, but they treat money like it's infinite, like it'll figure itself out. No, freedom comes from strategy, from intention, from sitting down and saying, this dollar is going to work, this dollar is going to grow, this dollar is going to serve my children. That's how you build wealth. Not overnight, not in a lottery, but in daily, deliberate decisions. So ask yourself right now, are you the general of your money or a prisoner of your spending? Because the moment you stop letting money wander and start commanding it like an army, that's the moment you stop working for money. And money starts working for you. There's a cold, quiet truth about wealth, and it's this: the poor trade time for money. The rich trade money for time. Most people were taught to work hard, get a job, earn a paycheck, then repeat the cycle for 40 years. That's the system. That's the conditioning. But here's the catch. If the only way you know how to earn is by working, you've already lost the game, because you only have so many hours in a day. But money? Money doesn't sleep. It doesn't eat. It doesn't age. And once you learn how to make it work for you, you're no longer limited by your energy. You're powered by your strategy. Think about this. A man wakes up at 6 a.m., drives to work, gives 8 hours of his life away, gets paid, and goes home tired. Now, contrast that with another man. He wakes up, checks his email, sees 3 of his investments paid him overnight, and spends the rest of the morning working on his next idea. One works for money. The other has money working for him. Now, this isn't about arrogance. This is about awareness. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Linda. She worked 2 jobs for nearly a decade, waitress by day, cashier by night. She barely slept, always chasing the next paycheck. But one day, a mentor asked her a single question that changed her life. What would happen if you gave one of your dollars a job? Confused, she replied, I thought that's what I've been doing. No, he said, you've been using your dollars to survive. I'm asking you to make them produce. That moment lit a fire. Linda started learning. She set aside just $50 a month, bought a few index funds, opened a high-yield savings account. A few years later, she owned a vending machine route that brought in $800 a month. No manager, no schedule, just a machine working while she rested. That's the difference. See, psychologically, most people feel safer working for money because it gives them control. They think, if I could just put in more hours, I'll be okay. But what they don't realize is that money, real money, isn't earned by sweat. It's earned by systems, leverage, decisions made early that pay forever. You see, the rich think differently. They don't ask, how can I earn more this week? They ask, what can I build this year that will pay me for the next 10? They plant trees today so their grandchildren can sit in the shade tomorrow. So I'll ask you straight, are you working harder than your money? Because if you are, it's time to switch roles. Train your dollars. Build your assets. Think long-term, because the day you make your money work for you is the day you stop counting hours and start counting freedom. Most people hear the word budget and immediately think of sacrifice. They imagine cutting out every joy, every coffee, every weekend outing. And so they avoid it. They live in denial. They call it living in the moment. But here's the truth no one told them. Budgeting isn't about saying no. It's about deciding where your yes really matters. Let's be clear. When you don't tell your money where to go, it goes everywhere. And when it goes everywhere, it ends up nowhere. That's not freedom. That's financial chaos dressed in the costume of choice. See, most people think a budget limits them. But I've got news for you. A budget liberates you. It's not a prison. It's a plan. It doesn't chain you down. It gives you the power to build up. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. Just bricks and wood and nails flying in every direction. That's how most people treat their money. Random, reactive, emotional. A budget is your blueprint. Without it, all you have is scattered effort and hollow progress. Now, let me tell you about Kevin. Kevin made $70,000 a year and still felt broke. Every month ended in stress. He didn't overspend dramatically, but a little here, a little there, streaming services, takeout, impulse buys, and every month the same line. Where did it all go? Then, one afternoon, he tracked every single dollar from the last 3 months. He was shocked. Hundreds of dollars were vanishing. Not on emergencies, not on necessities, but on forgettable conveniences. That's when it hit him. He didn't have an income problem. He had an awareness problem. So he built a budget. Not a punishment, a plan. He gave himself spending money on purpose, savings goals on purpose, investing targets on purpose. And guess what? He felt richer. Not because he earned more, but because he controlled more. That's the shift. See, psychologically, we associate freedom with options. But real freedom comes from intentional limits. Think of a river. Without boundaries, it becomes a flood. But with banks on either side, it becomes energy, power, movement. A budget is the banks to your financial river. It channels your money into the things that matter: growth, security, opportunity. It turns you from a passive spender into an active commander. And once you feel that shift, you'll never go back. Because here's the truth. Wealthy people love budgets. Why? Because they understand money is a resource, not a toy, not a mystery, a tool. And tools need to be used with direction. So the next time someone tells you budgeting is restrictive, smile. Because you know something they don't. A man without a budget is reacting. A man with a budget is creating. And when you start creating with your money, you stop surviving and start building. Because budgeting isn't about less. It's about more, but done with power. There's a trap that takes down more people than poverty ever could. It's not a lack of opportunity. It's not bad luck. It's ego dressed up as success. You see, in today's world, it's easy to confuse looking rich with being rich. Flashy cars, designer clothes, overpriced gadgets, all worn like armor. But behind the shine, there's often debt, stress, and insecurity hiding in plain sight. The truth? Most people aren't investing to grow. They're spending to be seen. And here's the tragedy. Every dollar you spend feeding your ego is a dollar you didn't invest in your future. Let me tell you about Daryl. 27 years old, sharp, hardworking. He landed his first big job and went straight to the dealership. Drove off in a brand new car, $700 monthly payment. Everyone applauded. You made it, they said. But they didn't see the credit card debt piling up. They didn't see the nights he lay awake, worried about his rent. Now, contrast that with Alicia. She made less, drove a 10-year-old car, wore the same watch she'd owned since college. But while the world clapped for Daryl's illusion, Alicia was quietly buying dividend stocks, learning about real estate, building an emergency fund. 5 years later, she owned 3 rental properties and didn't owe a single cent on her car. That's the difference between ego and assets. One needs applause. The other builds freedom. Psychologically, ego spending is about validation. We crave approval. We want to feel important. So we buy things that scream success, even when they whisper insecurity behind closed doors. But here's what the wealthy understand. Real wealth is quiet. It grows in silence. It doesn't shout, it compounds. Every dollar you spend on image is a dollar that could have been working for you in the background, earning interest, buying equity, creating passive income. That's how money multiplies. Think of assets like soldiers. They fight for you even when you sleep. Ego buys, they fade. Fast. That expensive belt, no return. That flashy watch, no dividends. That rental property pays you every month. That index fund grows while you breathe. And here's the powerful shift. When you start choosing assets over ego, your confidence changes. It no longer comes from how you look. It comes from what you own, not from applause, but from control. You walk differently when your future is funded. You speak differently when you're not chasing impressions. You're building impact. So ask yourself, are you spending to impress people or to free yourself? Because one leads to applause today. The other leads to options forever. When you invest in ego, you rent admiration. When you invest in assets, you own your future. And trust me, ownership feels a whole lot better than applause. Every dollar you spend without thought pushes freedom one day further down the road. That's a hard truth. But truth isn't always supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to wake you up. See, we've been sold a dangerous lie, that a little treat here and there doesn't matter. But the math doesn't lie. It adds up. That's $7 coffee every day. That's $210 a month. $2,500 a year. 10 years? $25,000. Now imagine if that same money had been invested, compounded. Imagine what that could have become, not just in dollars, but in days of freedom. Because that's what people forget. Money isn't just numbers. It's time. Every wasted dollar is a rented moment you'll have to pay back later, in stress, in longer work hours, in missed opportunities. Let me tell you a story. Marcus worked in retail. Not glamorous, but honest work. He made about $40,000 a year. He wasn't careless, but he wasn't intentional either. Fast food, new phone every year. Streaming subscriptions he never used. He told himself, I deserve a little luxury. And sure, he did. But what he didn't realize was that he was borrowing luxury from his own future. Then one day, he calculated how much he'd spent on small stuff over the last 5 years. Over $18,000. Gone. That hit him hard, because with that same amount, he could have cleared his debt, or invested in a side business, or bought stocks at rock-bottom prices during a dip. He saw it now. Every impulsive swipe of his card was a moment he'd have to trade more of his life for, and that broke something open inside him. He didn't just cut back. He shifted mindset. He stopped asking, can I afford this today? And started asking, is this worth more than my freedom tomorrow? And that's the switch. Psychologically, we're wired for immediate gratification. The brain loves a now. That's why you'll feel a rush spending $100 on shoes, but feel nothing when you invest $100 into your future. One rewards you now, the other pays you later. But here's the punchline. Only one of those lasts. Freedom isn't a lottery win. It's not a miracle. It's the accumulation of disciplined decisions over time. When you waste $1, you're not just losing money. You're choosing to stay at the job longer, to delay the business launch, to say no when your child asks you to take a day off. That's the real cost. But when you save that dollar, invest that dollar, repurpose that dollar, you reclaim time. You buy back your life. So the next time you're about to make that small impulse purchase, stop and ask, is this worth one more day of working for someone else? Is this worth delaying the life I say I want? Because freedom has a price, and every dollar either pays it off or pushes it further away. Passive income. Just hearing the words feels like magic. Money flowing while you sleep. Wealth that doesn't demand your hours. But let's clear the fog right now. Passive income is not a fantasy. It's not luck, and it's definitely not instant. Passive income is built, layer by layer, decision by decision. It's not a dream. It's a discipline. We live in a world hypnotized by ease. Make money while you do nothing. That's what they sell. But what they never show you is the grind behind the glory, the years of study, the trial and error, the patience when nothing seemed to move. That's where passive income really begins, in the discipline to do what others avoid. Let me tell you about a woman named Tara. She worked a regular job, just like most, nothing fancy. But she had a vision to stop trading time for money. She wanted freedom. So every paycheck, she took a slice, just 10%, while her friends spent weekends shopping. Tara was watching property auctions, learning about stocks, building digital courses, writing ebooks, setting up systems. It didn't pay off at first. That's the part most people quit. The first blog earned $17. Her rental unit broke even. The stock dipped, but she kept going not because it worked, but because she worked it. Discipline over dopamine. 3 years later, Tara wasn't wealthy yet, but she was free from paycheck panic. Her online sales paid for her groceries. Dividends covered her rent. And by year 5, her investments outpaced her salary. Tara didn't stumble into passive income. She engineered it with relentless focus and delayed gratification. Psychologically, here's the truth. Most people crave freedom, but they're addicted to immediacy. They want the rewards of discipline without the sacrifice of routine. They chase the harvest, but skip the planting. Passive income isn't just about income. It's about who you become in the process of building it. And what you build must be based on value. You want passive income? Solve a problem once that helps people forever. Create a product. Own a piece of something that grows. Invest in ideas that multiply. That's where the magic lives, in multiplication, not just repetition. But it all starts with discipline. Waking up early to study a new skill. Saying no to that impulse buy so you can invest. Staying up late to write when the world's watching TV. That's the real secret. Not glamour. Not get rich quick. Just a quiet, unshakable decision. I will build streams, not just work harder in someone else's river. So the question is, are you dreaming about freedom or are you disciplining yourself for it? Because one feels good in the moment. The other pays you for the rest of your life. Passive income isn't magic. It's maturity. And if you have the courage to build it, brick by brick, there will come a day when your money works harder than you ever did. That's not a dream. That's discipline paid in full. Bad debt is the silent killer of freedom. You don't always feel it creeping in, but once it's inside, your time, your energy, your future, they're all infected. That's why I say, avoid bad debt like a virus, because it spreads fast and it destroys silently. Now, let's get clear. Not all debt is evil. A mortgage on a home that appreciates in value, that's a tool. A small business loan that multiplies your income, that's leverage. But debt for a new phone you didn't need, a $600 jacket to impress people who aren't watching, that's poison. You just traded your future for a moment of illusion. And the most dangerous part? Bad debt wears a friendly face. Easy payments. Zero down today. They make it look like freedom. But behind the curtain is a chain, and every swipe of that credit card tightens a grip. Let me tell you about Derek. He was 26, just started making decent money. First thing he did? Bought a car he couldn't afford. Then came the trips, the new gadgets, the expensive nights out, all on credit. He told himself, I'll pay it off when I make more. But more never felt like enough. The debt ballooned, and one day he found himself $42,000 in the red, working overtime just to stay afloat. The worst part? He didn't even enjoy the things anymore. They became weights, anchors. He'd walk past that car in the driveway, once a source of pride, now a reminder that he was trapped. That's what bad debt does. It robs you twice. First of your money, then of your peace. Psychologically, here's the trap. Debt gives you the illusion of power today, while stripping your power tomorrow. Your brain gets the dopamine rush of possession without the cost of patience. But here's the truth. If you can't afford to pay for it twice, you probably can't afford it once. The discipline of avoiding bad debt is a test of self-worth, because when you truly value your future, you stop selling it for temporary comfort. You realize every unnecessary loan is a vote against your freedom, a vote against your dreams, a vote against your growth. And here's the turning point. Derek didn't stay in the hole. One day, he looked in the mirror and said, "This ends now." He sold the car, cut up the cards, picked up a second income. 2 years later, he was debt-free and investing for the first time in his life. Not just financially healthy, but mentally clear. Because financial freedom starts with refusing to enslave yourself for what you don't need. So ask yourself, is that deal worth the drag? Is the high of now worth the weight of later? Bad debt is subtle. It whispers like a friend, but make no mistake, it will wreck your future like an enemy. Avoid it like a virus, because once it spreads, the cure costs double. If you want more money, don't chase the money, grow the value, because money is like water. It flows where the roots are deep, where growth is visible, and where nourishment is consistent. Money flows where value grows. But too many people get it backwards. They think wealth starts with luck, with connections, with the right timing. No, it starts with you, your mindset, your habits, your ability to create value in a world starving for it. Here's the harsh truth. No one's coming to hand you $1 million for showing up. Money doesn't follow you because you want it. It follows you because you've earned it, by solving problems, by making lives easier, by bringing something meaningful to the table. Let me tell you about Marcus. He worked at a grocery store, minimum wage. He could have complained. Most people around him did. But Marcus made a different choice. He studied, not just in books, but people. He watched what customers needed before they asked. He learned inventory patterns. He found ways to reduce spoilage. Eventually, he pitched a system to management that cut waste by 30%. He wasn't just bagging groceries anymore. He was creating value. A year later, he wasn't stocking shelves. He was managing the back end. 2 years later, he was consulting for multiple locations. Not because he had a degree, not because someone owed him, but because he made himself irreplaceable by growing his value. And that's the difference. Poor mindset asks, when will I be paid more? Rich mindset asks, how can I become worth more? Because the market doesn't pay you by the hour. It pays you by the impact. Psychologically, it's about flipping the script. Most people focus on extraction. What can I get? But wealth builders focus on contribution. What can I give that no one else is giving? The moment you become obsessed with value, money becomes a byproduct, not the prize. It's not just business. It's relationships too. The friend who listens better than anyone, you treasure them. The artist who creates work that stirs your soul, you invest in them. The speaker who moves your spirit in 5 words, you remember them. Why? Because they've given you something that matters. That's value. And wherever value is planted, money eventually follows like sunlight chasing growth. The best part? You don't have to be perfect. Just useful. Just honest. Just committed to solving a problem a little better every day. So stop chasing paychecks. Start chasing purpose. Stop asking, where's my raise? And start asking, where's my next level of value? Because when your value increases, your income has no choice but to catch up. Money doesn't have loyalty. It moves. And it always moves toward the one who moves people. Grow your value, and you'll never have to chase money again. One income stream is like a single rope holding up your entire life. And that rope, it's fraying. Because in this economy, one job, one paycheck, one source, it's not safety. It's a gamble. You've got to multiply your income streams like your future depends on it. Because it does. Think about it. The average millionaire has not one, not two, but 7 income streams. And it's not just about making more. It's about buying back control. When one stream dries up, the others keep flowing. That's not luxury. That's security. Now, let's make this real. A man named Chris once told me, "Jim, I've got a good job. Why complicate things?" 6 months later, the company downsized. His good job vanished overnight. He had no savings, no second stream, no plan B. And that's when he learned the difference between income and income intelligence. But it doesn't have to be dramatic to be dangerous. Inflation eats. Emergencies knock. Opportunities don't wait for you to catch up. So why wait until crisis forces you to create what you could have built in peace? Psychologically, this is about identity. If you see yourself as just an employee, you'll only think like one. But the moment you start seeing yourself as a builder, a creator, a strategist, a steward of wealth, you start playing a new game. And new games have new rules. You might think, "But Jim, I don't have time." Neither did the single mom who started selling digital planners on Etsy at night. She now makes triple what her job pays. Or the teacher who began writing ebooks on the weekends. Now she travels the world teaching others how to do the same. These aren't superheroes. Just people who stopped trading all their time for one paycheck and started planting multiple seeds. Here's the key. Not all streams have to start big. Some drip, some trickle. But if you nurture them, they grow. A blog, a YouTube channel, a rental property, affiliate marketing, freelance writing, dividend stocks, digital products, online courses. It's not about chasing all of them. It's about starting one and then another, brick by brick. Every extra stream is a vote for freedom, a buffer against fear, a tool for legacy. And here's the part no one tells you. The real benefit isn't just the money, it's the confidence. The feeling of knowing that no one paycheck controls your peace. That you built systems that serve you while you sleep. That's not just income, that's empowerment. So ask yourself, if your main income disappeared tomorrow, would your life collapse or continue? Don't wait for life to test the strength of one rope. Start weaving your net now. Because the smartest people in the room aren't working harder. They're earning smarter. Multiply your income streams before life multiplies your problems. The greatest gift you can leave your children isn't money. It's wisdom. And not just any wisdom, but the kind that your parents never had and the schools never taught. Because too many of us were raised to be workers, not wealth builders. We learned to trade time for money, but we never learned how to make money work for us. And if we don't teach our kids this, the cycle repeats. Imagine your child growing up thinking a paycheck is all they can ever hope for. That debt is normal. That budgeting is boring. That investing is for the lucky or the rich. That's not education. That's limitation. I remember a man who came to me, frustrated because he was working harder than ever, but getting nowhere. He said, "Jim, I want my kids to have a better future than I had." But the truth was, he was teaching them by example to struggle, to fear money, to avoid risks. Your actions teach louder than words. If you constantly complain about money, if you avoid talking about it, your children will learn to fear it. If you never show them how to save, invest, or create value, they won't learn it either. But if you start today, right now, if you take the time to share even one lesson with them, you've begun a revolution. Think about the psychological power of breaking a generational curse. When you teach your kids to see money as a tool, not a master, you give them the keys to freedom. You help them develop a mindset that says, I can create. I can build. I am not trapped. A story comes to mind about a woman who struggled with her own finances, but was determined to teach her children differently. She sat down every week to talk about money, not as a taboo, but as a tool. She showed them how to budget their allowance, how to set small savings goals, and how to dream bigger than just spending. Years later, her oldest child started a business at 19, confident and fearless about finances because of those lessons. This is a kind of legacy that money alone cannot buy. Psychologically, this shift the family culture from scarcity to abundance, from fear to opportunity, from reaction to intention. It rewires how your children approach every decision about money, career, and life. And the ripple effect? It doesn't stop with them. They teach their children. And so the cycle of limitation breaks and is replaced by a chain of empowerment. You may not be able to control the economy, the job market, or inflation, but you can control what you teach your kids about money. Remember, wealth isn't just dollars. It's mindset. It's habits. It's the courage to think beyond today. The courage to ask, how can I make my money serve me and serve my family for generations? Don't wait for schools, mentors, or life to teach your kids what you weren't taught. Take the responsibility. Be the teacher your children deserve. Start with one lesson today, one conversation, one example, and watch how that small seed grows into a forest of freedom. Because the true measure of your wealth is not what you leave behind, but what you build ahead. Listen to me carefully. Money is a magnifier. It will make you more of who you already are. If you're insecure, it'll inflate it. If you're generous, it'll multiply it. If you're wise, it'll build an empire. If you're reckless, it'll destroy your future. So don't just chase money. Become the person who knows what to do when money shows up. Because when your money starts working for you, you stop living paycheck to paycheck and start living life on your terms. And remember this, the day you stop working for money is the day you start living for purpose.